Hey guys, let's get more news about Steelers, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Steelers tight ends looking to take on bigger role in Arthur Smith's offense. The quest to replace Deontay Johnson's production might extend beyond the players the Pittsburgh Steelers signed in free agency. It might not be confined to a third-round pick, as Johnson was in 2019, being asked to make up the difference. It might not be limited to any wide receiver, new or old, on the roster. Don't discount the tight end becoming a bigger part of Arthur Smith's offense and absorbing some of the sting from the trade that sent Johnson to the Carolina Panthers. I hope so, fourth-year tight end Pat Freiermuth said. I'm looking forward to being able to pick up the extra yardage that is there. I'm excited for the opportunity. Johnson's numbers in his final season with the Steelers were hardly flashy. He totaled 717 yards on 51 receptions, but he did score 5 touchdowns. In the 3 previous seasons, Johnson averaged 988 receiving yards, 94 receptions and 5 scores. Considering that the Steelers added a rookie third-round pick in Roman Wilson and veteran journeyman Van Jefferson, Scotty Miller and Quez Watkins in free agency, it's not a stretch to suggest the tight end group might be tasked with helping pick up the slack. It's going to be a team effort. It won't be just the tight ends making up for that void, said veteran tight end Michael Pruitt, who joined the Steelers in free agency. But I feel like with the room we have a lot of versatility there. We bring our own flavor to the game, and we're all going to be big contributors. Pruitt is a newcomer to a position group that returns Freiermuth, multi-purpose role player Connor Hayward, second-year blocker Darnell Washington and former practice squad player Rodney Williams. Pruitt spent the past 2 seasons in Atlanta, where Smith was the head coach for 3 years. He also played in Tennessee when Smith was the Titans' offensive coordinator. When Smith was hired to run the Steelers' offense, Pruitt was quick to follow him to another destination. We mesh well together, Pruitt said. Early returns at organized team activities indicate other tight ends are meshing well with Smith's system, too. They are moving us all around, and we've been heavily dependent on tight ends and where we line up, Freiermuth said. It's been awesome for us. The tight end was an afterthought in the Steelers' offense last season, and some of that had to do with Freiermuth missing 5 games because of injury. He started just 9 out of 17 games. Steelers tight ends combined for 93 targets, the 6th fewest in the NFL. Freiermuth led the way with 47, and Hayward had 34. Contrast that to the Falcons, who, in Smith's final season, finished 3rd in tight end targets with 174. The Falcons not only used multiple tight ends, they moved them around in the formation. It's a role that has a lot of variety in it, Pruitt said when asked to explain how Smith utilizes his tight ends. We can be lined up anywhere on the field to try to exploit any mismatches we can get out of the defense. We use a lot of tight end personnel, from 11, 12, 13. There are a lot of us on the field, and I think that will benefit our offense a lot. Freiermuth has found himself lining up outside the tackles, in the slot and sometimes out wide. He's putting us all over the field, he said. We're getting comfortable running the routes and catching balls out there. It has been an adjustment, but it's been really smooth. Hayward has lined up at tight end, H-back and fullback during OTAs. I feel like everybody's role has changed with this offense, he said. There is a lot of tight ends, a lot of usage of receivers, fullbacks and quarterback mobility. It's a change for everybody, but it's a good change. When healthy in the 2021 and 22 seasons, Freiermuth filled a bigger role in the Steelers' offense as did the tight end position overall. He caught 123 passes combined in those 2 seasons for 1,229 yards. Not coincidentally, the Steelers ranked number 4 in tight end targets in 2022 after being number 12 in 2021. We have a lot of ways to get the tight ends involved, Freiermuth said. Obviously, a lot of teams have the same formations, but we have a lot of complex ways to get into it, motions, shifts, ways to confuse the defense. We're always on a rhythm and timing. It keeps the defense honest. And the tight ends are involved more than they were a year ago in Matt Canada's final season calling plays. At first, there were some bumps learning it, Hayward said, but you can see everything start to make sense, and all of us are starting to get on the same page. Justin Fields clears the air about returning kickoffs. The Pittsburgh Steelers were busy in the first few weeks of the NFL offseason. After a few frustrating seasons with Kenny Pickett at the helm, the Steelers decided that enough was enough and tried to start over at the position. Not only did they get rid of Pickett, but they also added 2 new quarterbacks, Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. Many expect Wilson to be the starter in Week 1, given his career experience and track record, which could leave little early season work for Fields. With this in mind, some people questioned what Fields' role would be on this team, given the fact that he was a starter in Chicago. There was a rumor going around that Fields would start returning kicks for the Steelers, a rumor that he recently tried to dispel. As Fields said in this article from the Post-Gazette, "Nah, I just think everybody kind of interpreted it wrong. Coach Danny was basically just trying to send a message that no matter who you are, you could be used on special teams. He just used that as an example." In Fields' words, this whole situation was a bit of a misunderstanding. Assuming he's telling the truth, it appears that one of his coaches used him as an example in a practice, which led some to believe that Fields would actually start returning punts and kicks. This would be an unorthodox approach for any team, given the constant need for backup quarterbacks in case a starter gets injured. Steelers likely to look for cheaper option than Najee Harris next year, Ray Fittipaldo believes. The Pittsburgh Steelers declined Najee Harris's 5th-year option at the beginning of May and forced an early contract season for him in 2024. Unless he has a monster season to prompt a franchise tag, the Steelers are likely to let him hit the open market as an unrestricted free agent. Will they be players in that market to try and sign him to a long-term deal? Pittsburgh Post-Gazette insider Ray Fittipaldo doesn't think so. He was asked during his Tuesday Steelers chat via Post-Gazette if he thinks the plan is to re-sign Harris after the season or find a cheaper option. "I'm thinking cheaper option," Fittipaldo wrote. Harris was a part of the RB meetings that took place last offseason as several of the top players discussed the declining value of the RB market. It is the unfortunate reality as more and more undrafted players are finding success at the position and more teams are shifting to committee backfields with very few feature backs remaining compared to a decade ago. The 5th-year option amount was only $6.79 million for the 2025 season, so are they really going to turn around and give him a more valuable deal than that? It seems unlikely, and they will also have Jaylen Warren to worry about, as his 3-year UDFA contract is up after this season. He will be a restricted free agent, and they are likely to place a second-round RFA tender on him worth a projected $4,978,000 per over the cap. Knowing ahead of time that Warren could be had for that amount definitely played a role in the Harris decision. Otherwise, they would end up with nearly $12 million fully guaranteed invested in the position for the 2025 season. The Steelers have been busy adding to the running back room lately. Other than Cordarrelle Patterson, who is probably viewed as more of a pure kick returner than a running back option at this stage of his career, the Steelers signed Jonathan Ward and LaMichael Perine recently and signed UDFA Dijun Edwards after the draft. Both Perine and Ward have some NFL experience and have a chance to make the roster as special teamers this season, which could lead to a potential role in 2025. And you fan? What do you think of the situation of Najee Harris? Leave your opinion in the comments.